All right, new day traders, tip of the day. Just always remember, it can always be worse, and it can always be better. That is basically almost the #1 rule, I would say, of day trading. It can always be worse, and it can always be better. You're never going to get the maximum amount out of any trade, because it's almost impossible. I mean, you might get the maximum, I shouldn't say that, but more than likely you're never going to get an entry at the very bottom of the day and then exit at the very high of the day, the low and the high. It's just not going to happen. So it could always be better, but it could always be worse. So no matter what happens, just remember that, because you're basically only as good as your next trade, your next starting pitcher. So anyway, today was a great day, just because of the sheer number of opportunities, and because at 2 o'clock we had that Fed announcement about rate cuts, and that it wasn't going to happen. So that created a big boost for your longs, if you had any longs. But first I want to show you a few trades, some of them that I cut short and they ended up being good trades. I just got out of them too early. That happens a lot. You got to deal with it. But first off, here, I put a little marker here at 10:50. At 10:50 this morning, I said this looks like a good short because it was failing VWAP, the Sony. It had gapped down. I'll show you the gap. See, this was yesterday. I'll tighten this up. This was yesterday, right? Down day yesterday, and then it gapped down here to open. So I said this could be another big down. So it broke below VWAP, volume weighted average price. That's a must for day trading. Came back up, failed it, came back up again, and failed it. So that was like 3 failures, right? So here's where I wanted to get in, and because I figured this was going to be the breaking point, and guess what? It was just, I just missed it. So 43.65, it came all the way down to about 43.07, so almost 60-cent drop. Now you can see it might be curving back up. Missed that one, but no matter. So a losing trade I had today that looks like I just set my stop too tight. Yep, look at that. All right, keep track of this, the way that you set your stops and whether or not you're setting them too tight. So this was kind of ugly today, but I did like the fact that it gapped down on the day, and I'll show you. This showed up in my, where did this show up? This showed up in my pre-market scan. So you can see here, these are the last few days, and then it just gapped way down here, right? So I was keeping an eye on it right from the beginning of the day. And what happened at the beginning of the day, it spiked up a little, got above VWAP, and then it started to kind of drift away from VWAP. So I got in right here. And what happened right away? Look at that. It went straight down from where I got in, and I got out right here at VWAP. I should have considered re-entering this trade later on, but no matter. I could have made a bigger stop, 1978. Let's see, I could have put my stop down to 68, maybe like 10 extra cents, and I would have probably been able to stay in it. But it was messy to begin with, so I wasn't that unhappy with exiting when I did. And if I held on to it, I probably would have exited here anyway. So, but look what happened later on in the day. So my gut was right that this was a stock that was going to recover from gapping down on the day, and it did so far anyway. It's a big green candle now. You can see on the yearly moving average, or the daily. So yeah, kind of disappointed in Nomad Foods. I don't even know. I've never even heard of them before. I mean, I've seen this stock before, but whatever. So so then my next trade ended up being a good one, and that was HDS. Now, oh boy, look what happened. This was a good trade that I mismanaged. Now you can see why. Look, I got in here, and I got out here. What happened later? Skyrocket. And it never broke VWAP, but I got nervous, and the reason I got nervous is because oh, and this stock showed up in my bouncing through VWAP scan, which I've said in all my videos basically at this point. It's my money scan. It showed up in this, and that stock, as I've said a million times, I'll explain what that does. That's a trade idea scan, trade idea software that I designed. The scan, obviously, not the software. And it looks for stocks that are down on the day and then coming back up through VWAP. And that fit the pattern here. It was down on the day and then coming up through VWAP. Now I'll show you why I also liked it. It had a big red day yesterday, right? This was yesterday. Big drop for HD Supply Holdings. So when that happens, you look for either continuation or possible rebound. So you know something's happening with the stock over the last couple of days because of this. So when I watched it early this morning, I was saying, okay, will this continue down with below VWAP, right? Or will it break above it? And what happened? Broke above it, held it, and then it started going sideways, and I just didn't like the pattern. I think if I tighten it up this way, it looks a little sloppier. Like when I was in it, it wasn't nice tight candles. There's some topping tails, some bottoming tails, a doji candle here. I think that's what kind of got me nervous. Doji candle followed by a big red candle. So I got out right here. I think I got in at 41.66, and I got out at 41.69. So 3 cents, which is, I'll be able to buy a sandwich tomorrow. It's just it's I can't be upset that because I didn't lose any money on the trade, but I am upset that I just didn't have the guts to hold on to it a little longer. Just move my stop up. You can see I put lines so you can see where my stop was, 41.49. That's where I was going to get out if it got down to there. I could have just edged that up instead of getting out completely to about 41.61. I mean, I got in at 66, so putting my stop at like 59 or 60. It would have been a minor loss if it actually did come back and hit that, but I didn't do that, and you can see what happened. Took off. Now, the reason it took off here is you can see it started taking off before 2 o'clock, but I think it was at 2 o'clock that the Fed announced that they weren't going to hike rates or whatever it was. It was positive news for longs, and it just, look at this. I mean, it went all the way up to 42.59, right? I was in at 41.60. I mean, it was almost $1. Almost $1. So that was a trade I really am upset that I didn't stay in, but I did make up for it. Now I'm in a trade right now. Here it is, time. Now the reason I got into this is because it showed up in my pre-market scan. See here, down on the day, right? This was yesterday. Boom, big gap down today. So what I watched for was, and this has become my new favorite type of trade, is stocks that are gapping down. And then I look for this chart. This is another 5-minute chart, but it is my 8 EMA and my 20 SMA. So what I do is I wait for the 8 EMA to catch up to the stock, and then I wait for the 20 SMA to catch up to the 8, and see how it behaves. You see here, it's using that as resistance. It's nice and tight, right? It was tight. The 20 SMA caught up, and I said, I'm getting it. So I took a short right here at 17.10, and right away it started dropping, so I was really happy. My first target was 16.84, and I got out a little more than half my shares. I didn't exit all my shares because I was expecting, this was the low of the day, so I was expecting it possibly to bounce a little bit, but I figured, from what I saw, I thought it could continue down below that eventually. The reason why, and this is my new favorite, I love this. These are easy trades if you're a new day trader, because if you see this, holding this right here, right, it's a gapper down, so it's got volume today and it's moving. You can predict that this is going to move down a little, so you can kind of edge your stop up all along the way. Anyway, it did bounce a little, but then the 20 was there for the rescue. It couldn't break above the 20, dropped it below the 8 again, and now it's moving down. Hopefully it's moving down a little bit more, so I'm probably going to ride this one down till the end of the day. I'll start edging. I first moved my stop up to my entry. Once I got out a little more than half my shares, I moved my stop up to my entry, so I would break even on the remaining shares. And then once it started moving down a little bit more from that little spike up here, I moved my stop down to the $17, because that's a whole number. If it breaks that, it might actually end up going positive on the day eventually, or at least recovering somewhat. Yeah, and that's why I think that it actually might continue down, because it's got that whole number above it, and it's still riding these SMAs and this EMA, and the 15-minute chart, you can see it's below the 10 EMA on a 15-minute chart, which caught up to it, and a lot of times once it catches up, it'll use that as resistance as well, and you can see it's just tipping it right there. And we've got a red candle here, so who knows, it could go down, but you love being in a trade like this when no matter what, you already made money on it, and with your remaining shares, if it comes back, you're going to exit the remaining shares for another little bit of a profit, so you're good to go. So that was a great trade. I'm still in it. We'll see what happens for the remaining hour and 15 minutes left in the day. And one more trade. This was a quickie, and I loved it. Because I got in it right before the Fed announcement, which was risky. But the reason I got into it, let's see if I could tighten it up before it had that nice spike. The reason I got into it was this was another bouncing through VWAP scan, which I've showed before. It showed up, I don't know, actually, you know what? I altered that scan, and I made it a gap with relative volume. So now we have a little bit higher relative volume. This was early in the day, 10:30 it showed up, right? And it kept showing up throughout the day. You see 11:30, 12 o'clock. So it was ringing off in my ear all day long. So first showed up here at 10:30, down on the day, came back through VWAP. Failed though, but had this 200 moving average on a 5-minute chart, possibly acting as support. So it kind of rode that, broke, but it never ended up dropping. Came back, broke above VWAP and the 200, and I said, you know what, if the Fed has a good announcement, it could boost it a little. And so I got in right here at 155, Bosch and Lomb, Bosch Health, I think it's Bosch and Lomb, or maybe it's just Bosch and Lomb, I don't know how it works, whatever. So I got in here, and look at this, within 10 minutes, because of the Fed announcement, look at this huge green bar. I mean, that's a 23-cent jump in just 10 minutes, right? So I got in at 25.20, I think it was. Yeah, 25.20, 25.19, some decimals, so just below 25.20. Big jump. And then it got to my first target, and you know what? I was just happy with all the trades I had today. I said, you know, I'm just going to take it out. Because you see this big spike. You can see it on the 15-minute. Obviously this big spike too, it could drop quickly even with the Fed announcement being what it was. So I got out all my shares. I said, you know, let's just play it safe. I'm happy. I'm still in another trade that I hope that will continue downward for me today with time. So I got out here, but look what happened. I got out 44. It went all the way up through my two other my 3-to-1 and my 4-to-1 ratio, risk to reward to risk. So because I was risking 12 cents, and this is 24-cent gain that I got on it, and this is 36, and this is 48. So it hit all of them. So I could have just held on to some shares, but you know, I've had 3 winning trades already today. I'm just happy. This has been a great day, and I'm really happy with these scans I've been using, and this new tactic. I think I like the gapping down and then watching with the how it behaves with the 8 EMA. That's been really good. So this is a great trade. Did really well on this one. A little help from the Fed announcement. That was nice. So I will continue to watch this time. And like I said, I like using this 8 EMA, 20 SMA on gappers down. And when they start to tighten up as the 8 EMA gets close, that's a little bit of a sign that it's going to use that as a resistance and going to ride it down. It did. So it's at 1683. I originally exited my first more than half of my shares at 1684. I'm hoping it can get down to 1671. Maybe the bottom can drop out at some point. Now it's below my first target, so I might just move my stop up to just close to my first target, so that if it actually backtracks, I'll just exit all my shares. But it was a great day. So any questions, let me know in the comments. Like I said, I will be streaming the pre-market scans eventually. And I think I'm going to try to do it tomorrow, maybe Friday. I said I would do it this week, so hopefully I can do it tomorrow, Friday. But yeah, a lot of these stocks showed up in my pre-market scans, so that can be a big help. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow.